start off by getting the slide there and just introducing myself. So I've been doing this for a long time. I started selling to retailers in 2001. In 2005, I started selling on Amazon. On 2006, I'm up here in Seattle and I was working at Microsoft. So some friends of mine from Microsoft who moved over to Amazon told me about this wonderful new service Amazon was going to offer, which was that they would do fulfillment for you. At that time, 3PLs, there still are, rather expensive, but Amazon was so much less. So I signed up and I joined Amazon FBA, one of the very first. I was there within 30 days using Amazon to fulfill and so on. I started going back and forth to China in 2012. And, I say that in a lot of presentations. What I don't say, and gives a little more insight into my background, is that I started negotiating with China back in 2005, 2004 and 5. When I was with Microsoft, I was global business manager twice. That's right underneath the executive level. And they taught me how to do it. So when we talk about negotiation and dealing with Chinese suppliers and so on, I didn't just wake up. I was very, very lucky and had some very good training. So a little bit more about me. I continue to keep my focus on selling to retailers, and my business model is to sell across all channels. A couple of years back, I started teaching other people how to do the same thing. And I also wrote a book, which we should have a copy of here. I think when people talk about a book, they think some 30-page ebook. It's not. It's pretty big. It's all about doing your product, doing it well, and making it succeed, as I say, across all channels, not just Amazon. If you can sell on Amazon, you can sell to retailers. You need to be thinking about that. And I'll go into some numbers in a moment to understand why. But there is that book. I do courses. I also have some training specifically about expanding from Amazon into retail. If you go to my site, Product Development Academy, you'll find it out there. And I got some wonderful bonuses to talk about at the end, kind of bribing you to stick with me. But that's my story. So I've earned my lovely haircut because I've done a lot and I've had a lot of experience. So I'm going to see here if I just will this move it to the next slide. That is not working there. Let's move the next slide over here. And there we go. Perfect. So I said that I would talk about why you want to think about in-store retail. In the US, e-commerce is 12.5% of retail right now. Oh, I should take that back. Last quarter, second quarter, third quarter will be announced by the Department of Commerce in about 24 hours, November 18th, US time. So the expectation is it's going to continue this slow curve, bounce back up. As you look on this chart, you can see that during fourth quarter, there's a big bounce across all of retail, but with e-commerce bouncing back. And again, first quarter, it will drop back down again. These are specific numbers. I've seen similar reports from Nielsen. They are the people who are responsible for tracking TV shows, but also tracking retail. If you're ever at a U.S. Supermarket or store, you run your product through the scanner and it beeps. That information is going to the store accounting register. It tracks everything inside the store, but it also sends a message to Nielsen, who tracks all of that and tracks online, working with Amazon. It's the same from NFR and a few other organizations. And I point that out because I've got to tell you, I got an email yesterday with a new report, and it says that 40% of people are shopping online and stuff like that. And I almost put a post out onto Facebook saying, where does anyone know where they're getting these numbers? Because they're not the actual numbers. E-commerce is super strong. It is very easy to get into. But think about it as a swimming pool at a resort on the beach. You could do laps in that pool. You can learn to swim really well. In fact, when I learned to scuba dive, they started us in the pool, but then we moved to the ocean, and the ocean is huge. And I want you to think about moving from e-commerce to in-store retail the same way you think about swimming in a pool and moving into an ocean. It's big, it's huge, and it can be scary at first, but it really is a natural progression. So this is the reasons that you want to think about getting into big box stores, retail. I'll talk about big box in a moment, but let's talk about what retail really is. So there's basically two types that people think of, and basically two major categories of in-store retailers. There's also club stores, which can be jumbled in with big box stores. Specialty retailers, they can be called gift stores, independent retailers, mom and pops. They're usually physically smaller. They can be a small chain or a single store. Big boxes are large chains, large stores, large foot traffic, and you can sell a huge amount. Specialty retailers, less foot traffic, but both specialty and big box deal with bulk. You sell a lot and you make a lot of money. Big box issues POs. If you're going to get into a Walmart or a Home Depot or a Bunnings, it's going to take a while. They're going to put you into their system. They'll do a test order. They'll issue a purchase order, and that's forward dated. It's actually forward dated far enough out for you to actually produce and ship your products before they're due at the store. And then after they receive it, they'll pay in 30 or 60 days and so on. You'll deal with a corporate buyer, someone who's sitting in a cube in an office in front of a computer, away from the individual stores. And because of all that, it does take a while. If someone says, oh, I got into a big box store in 2 days or 2 weeks or even 2 months, maybe 2 months. No, not even 2 months. It's very improbable. On the other hand, and this is what we're going to focus on, specialty retailers. Because they're smaller sized, the decision maker is right there. And every skill that you have learned selling on Amazon, as far as making your product appealing, this is just one more sale. Only it's a sale that reorders again and again and again. It's a really simple purchase process. And guess what? They pay upfront. You don't have to wait the 30, 60 days. There are some exceptions. We'll touch on that in a moment. But they pay upfront. The decision maker is right there. They get to make a decision to buy, and they pay for shipping. So there's a lot to be said for selling to in-store specialty retailers. Let me just switch this on over here so I can see you guys and pause for a second to see if there's any questions. Are any questions?
I don't see any questions. I don't see any questions as of now, but guys, let us know if you have any questions in the comments. Steven will be taking questions at the end.
Excellent. So, what are the steps? How do you build your 2020 strategy to include in-store retailers? It's very simple. If you want, and everyone does, to get to those big box stores, do yourself a favor. do it in steps. Start first with the independent and specialty retailers. Make sure you've got everything aligned, and then grow on to big box. Keep your Amazon. I don't want people jumping off of Amazon for this, but Amazon's going to be giving you income like this. The specialty retailers are going to be giving you income like this. And then by the time you get to big box stores, it goes all the way up quickly. It's a natural progression. The great thing when you sell to independent and specialty retailers is that there's no algorithms to figure out, no surprise suspensions. It's really simple. They want the product, they order it, you send it. And because specialty across the board, all retailers don't want to have 1,000 silicone spatulas, you're not competing with your factory or other sellers. Yours is there. People want it. They buy it. Now, this sounds good. I want to be clear. There are certain requirements. The product must benefit the retailer. If the retailer only sells stuff for dogs and you only have products for cats, you got to find a cat retailer. That's not going to make sense to you, the customers, or the person who owns the store. We call that a fit. It must be a fit. It's got to bring something to the retailer. And this is a very subtle but important point. Retailers have needs. And think of them as a business. They have business needs. They need to increase their revenue. They need to increase their average margins. They need to bring people into the store. They need to be exciting. They need to have the latest, greatest, whatever the buzz is about. So those are the benefits of the retailers. And we're going to talk more about this in a moment when we talk about making the sale. The package. Package has to be retail ready. I've got here. Here's package that I use online. Everyone knows what these bags are and so on. Exact same product for retailers. Same product, different packaging. Your package does have to be retail ready. And we can go into that in more detail. It cannot cannibalize. And I think most people on Amazon have heard the word cannibalize, but in case you haven't, your product has got to be able to sell without decreasing the profits from other products. So if you have, here we go, get to use coffee cups. If you've got 2 coffee cups, if they are selling this coffee cup and you come along and you're selling this coffee cup, they're going to say, well, customers are going to choose one or the other, but not both. So they've sold a coffee cup, but they've given up the space on that shelf where they could be selling something else. So they want you to have something that's not a coffee cup. Best thing in the world is if it does something opposite than cannibalize. If it complements the other product, if it helps it sell. So what's an example of that? Peanut butter and jelly. The more people buy peanut butter, the more they buy jelly. The more they buy jelly, the more they buy peanut butter. And both of those increase the sales of bread. If you've got a store that's selling frozen pizzas and you sell pizza stones, if anyone doesn't know, those are these flat stones that you put on the base of in the oven and you put your pizza on it. It really makes it taste better than most pizzas you've ever had. If you have a place that's selling pizzas and you sell pizza stones, frozen pizzas, increase in sales. You're selling your pizza stones. The store is selling your pizza stones and making money. And they're also selling more pizzas. That's even better. That's the opposite of cannibalizing. And lastly, you have to be able to sell in bulk, in multiples. Stores don't buy one product at a time. They buy a bunch at a time. I know this is pretty obvious, But that's where the magic happens. That's where you make money. So you have to be able to sell in bulk. Let's get this to the next slide. There we go. The next question everyone always asks is, how much do I charge? And I have seen this pop up in Facebook groups all the time. People are saying, oh, you can charge 20% or 30% or whatever. Those are outliers. Those are aberrations. The industry is pretty straightforward. Retailers do something called keystoning. They double the price. It's 100% markup, 50% margin. Keystone all means the same thing. If they've got something on the shelf that's selling for $50, they're going to pay you $25 for it. If you've got something you're selling to them for $25, they're going to put it on the shelf for $50. When I started this years ago, Amazon didn't charge as much as they do now. And you don't pay as much for PPC as you do now. In fact, lots of people back then didn't even do PPC. These days, it's all required. And frankly, as a lot of people already know by opening their emails, next year the prices are going up for a lot of things. Sit down with pencil and paper, figure out how much is actually going into the pockets of Amazon. And you'll see that these days, it's pretty darn close to independent specialty retailers, 50%. Now, big box stores, they dance around that. It could be 54%, 58%, could be 62%, it could be 47%, but it's right around there. So in your head, when you figure out your strategy and the viability of your product, just think keystoning across the board. But that is what retailers expect. Your clients, your customers, the retailers expect. And as long as you build that into your model, you should be good. And frankly, if you are making money on Amazon these days, you're going to find that keystoning fits right in with what you're doing. How do you make money at 50% margin? Well, this is where we come back to that magic where I said bulk. Bulk is everything. So let's say that you're selling baby blankets, the wonderful example of baby blankets. I think I should do baby blankets with little embroidered silicone spatulas and garlic presses on the baby blankets. And the only people who are going to buy it are Amazon sellers who all know the inside joke. So baby blankets. You have a case pack. So what's a case pack? When you have your products made in China, they're all put into a big carton, the master carton. When you fill out your shipping instructions, it'll ask you about an inner carton, master carton, outer carton, so on. That inner carton is your case pack. That's the number that the retailers are going to purchase by. So let's say you have 6 baby blankets in an inner carton. In China, they put all the blankets in. They have each one of them in their own little package. They get sealed inside that case pack. And from that point on, it's sold as a case pack. Your 3PL never has to open them up, never has to take the fees of opening them up. All they do is they stick a label on the outside and send it off. So in this case, we've got a case pack of 6. Retail price is $20, $19.99. You're selling it to the retailer, $10 each. Case pack is $60. And you got 3 colors, pink, blue, and yellow. So the retailer says, okay, I'm gonna buy a case of each because I don't know if the next customer is going to come in with a desire to buy a pink one or a blue one or a yellow one. So I have to have all 3 colors. I'm going to buy a case pack of each. So right away, that one sale starts off with 18 units. Now, let's say that they're going to sell 6 per week. That's about 312 blankets a year, 31,200 in revenue in your pocket. If you get 100 retailers, now you're making $312,000 in yearly sales. And I got to tell you, it's really easy to get 100 retailers. I've got some of my students are launching already knowing that they have retailers. One of my students had someone painting a room in their house, and their wife works at putting products into retailers. And before they finished painted the room, she already had 11 retailers lined up before she even launched. You can get to 100 retailers really easy. In my program, we talk to you about how, but I just want you to focus on that right now. Wouldn't it be nice to have an additional $312,000 in your pocket? Now, when you get a suspension, it's not as much of a panic mode because you've got a whole nother strong income stream coming in. In many cases, stronger than Amazon. So that's why you want to be in multiple channels. That's why it's a natural progression. That's why you should be thinking about it for next year. The numbers are beautiful. So how do you sell your product to a retailer? Frankly, it's the same way you sell it to customers. You don't. Don't sell your product. This is the original ad for iPod. Are they saying, we've got a wonderful, high quality, great MP3 player? No. Are they saying we compete with the Nano Rio, which I don't think anyone's ever heard of ever again because iPod blew them out of the market? No. They're selling the benefits. I love this. 1,000 songs in your pocket. That's the benefit. You can do the same thing with retailers. Don't focus on what the product is. Focus on what the benefits are. And we started talking about them a few minutes ago. It adds to the market basket, which means people are buying it, and it's adding to the bottom line cash register receipts at the end of the day. It's something they hadn't seen before. They want it. They want to buy. It increases profits. And one of the great ways is it complements other products. It has buzz. I had one of my products was in the gift bags at the, I do my own products. One of my products was in the gift bags at the Oscars. It was talked about literally all over the world. It had good turns. Turns means that you put it in the store, the retailer puts it on the shelf, and it sells. And they get more on the shelf, and it sells. CJ says, I have that iPod. Hello, CJ. CJ, last time I saw you, we were at lunch in Hong Kong. I hope you're doing well. There he goes. I love it. There we go. I got news for you. The year after they went to 3,000 songs in your pocket, you could have upgraded by then. Okay, this is the point. I mentioned that I was at Microsoft. This is the point to embarrass myself as CJ holds up his iPod. One of the products that I was responsible for was the Zune. So I certainly have learned by mistakes as well as successes. You want to bring the benefit of your product to the retailer. And it does not make sense at first until you think about the 1,000 songs in your pocket. If iPod is 1,000 songs in your pocket and Apple realizes that, then you should be saying, hey, this is my cool product. And it brings to you, let's see, this is a coffee mug that says China on it. And it's very attractive to customers that like to travel. Customers that like to travel love this. That's why you want to have it on your shelf, because it's a benefit to you. I've got a tiny little backpack that opens up to a full-size backpack. It hits a specific customer avatar. If that store is selling to people who are active and young and hiking and do things spontaneously, they want a backpack like that. So your product has to be good, no question about it. We'll talk about the product a little bit more. But when you make that sale, it becomes really easy. When you go to a store and you say, "Hey, I've been selling, um, I've been selling these little flower pot things, and stores just like yours are going through 3 or 4 turns a year. Stores just like yours are selling a lot of these. They're flying off the shelf. In fact, where was it? I got into a major showroom because the owner of the showroom went into a store, said, I've never seen these before. And the store owner said, these are flying off the shelf. And then he gave me a call and said, hey, do you want to be in our showroom? And that led to a lot of other things, including Bed Bath and Beyond. So what is the benefit? What is the benefit that you provide the retailer? Again, it cannot cannibalize, and that's super, super important. On Amazon, let's see if we have that in the next slide. Yeah. On Amazon, it's natural to try to cannibalize your competition. You want to create your listing to be better, your photos to be better, your PPC strategy to be better in order to take sales away from them. But what you've got to do when you sell to retailers, you want to make sure that you're differentiated enough so that it's not going to take away from what they already have on the shelves. If they don't have it on the shelf, great. But if they have silicone barbecue gloves on the shelf, they don't want yours. Now, Amazon, they love it. When there's 100 silicone barbecue gloves, the people who do the marketing for Amazon are out there advertising, saying Amazon's the biggest marketplace in the world. We've got all of these products. We've got millions of products. But every one of us know that if you're on page 4, you're not selling a damn thing. There could be another 100 behind you, and they're not selling anything either. The only people that benefits is Amazon. And guess what? When you start competing with each other, price war, we all know what happens. The price gets shoved down, and the customers like that. Wonderful. And then what are you going to do to compete? You're going to spend more on PPC. Who loves that? Amazon and their shareholders. So cannibalizing each other helps Amazon. It doesn't help retailers. Retailers have limited shelf space, both in front of the store and in the back. And because copycats don't add more to their bottom line, they are not looking for copycats. But I'm going to bring this little plant thing back again. I think we've all seen little plastic plant things in the stores and so on. Usually, let's do it this way. Yeah, it hides it. One little plant thing. But if you come along and you have one that has 2, you're different. Now you've got something exciting for the retailer because they haven't seen it before. You haven't invented anti-gravity sneakers. You simply have said, hey, I'm differentiating my product, just like I know I need to do on Amazon. And that appeal of having a differentiated product is so strong, retailers want you. Now, I got a pro tip in here that's really important. On Amazon, if you're 3 pennies less than your competitor, you certainly have a lot more appeal. But for retailers, they're not looking for that. You get to be 3 pennies, 10 pennies. You could be 5, even 10% less. They want to know that when you deliver your products, you're dependable. That it'll show up when you say it will. They want to know that when you call up, gosh, I had a woman who was running a charity store for guide dogs for the blind. And every time she placed an order, It was at least an hour before she got off the phone. She just talked and talked and talked and chatted. She wanted to know how my dog was doing. It's a relationship. They want to, business wise, they want to trust you. They want to depend on you. They want to know that you're professional. And when it comes to independent and specialty retailers, they're not prohibited from building friendships like big corporations are. They build that relationship. And because of that, well, you're not going to kick out the next person with barbecue gloves because you're saying, hey, I'm 10% less. But you get your little double planters on the shelf and someone else sees it and says, I'm going to copy Steven's double planters and I'm going to try to take this retailer away from him because I'm 10% less. Guess what? It doesn't happen. You're still there. You don't have to lower your price to compete with competitors and keep that retailer. That's another beautiful thing about selling to retailers, particularly specialty and independent retailers. I'm trying to look at, I don't have any clocks around me, but boy, I'm sorry, Megla. Once again, I run late. I will go along faster. Packaging. Amazon has listings. On the shelf, packaging is the same as your listing. That's going to get people's attention. And there are some quick keys to having successful packaging. Right away, you have to know what that product is. So on the front of the package, give a descriptive name. When they launched the automobile, the car, they didn't say, hey, folks, this is a car. This is an automobile. People didn't know what it was. They called it a horseless carriage. Simple, understandable. Let people know what it is that you're selling. Make it descriptive. And then the benefit, 1,000 songs in your pocket. How does it change your life? And express that with emotion. That brings people in. There we go. Excellent. And then features. What are the physical aspects of the product? What's the flavor, the fragrance, the size, the number of units, how long does it last, and so on. Bring in the intangibles, make the customer understand that there's value behind it, that it has shelf impact, it gets someone's eye on the shelf. And look at that. The logo and the name are not as important. Yeah, brand's important because they'll start recognizing that. But take a look at these little dips here. You immediately know they're all the same brand. If you like the Moroccan one and the chorizo one, and you see the garlic on the shelf, you're going to get it because you know it's part of the same brand, even though the logo is tiny up in front. So your brand, and that's a recognition, a visual, a message, understanding, a social media presence, that's your brand. Don't worry about making your logo super big. For people who've done courses with me, they know how I lost close to $9 million on that mistake, putting my logo out there and not understanding packaging. So what is the checklist? You want to move on to retailers, and you should. This is what you need to think about. Your product has to provide a benefit to the retailer. Great product, but for the sale, it must provide a benefit to the retailer. They must be able to keystone the price, which means you have to have your numbers aligned enough that you can sell it to them for half of what they're selling on the retail shelf. Shouldn't cannibalize other products. It must have retail ready packaging. And folks, that means a UPC, not an ASIN. ASIN is only for Amazon. It must be a fit for their customers. Don't sell dog products to a cat store. Don't sell cat products to a dog-only store. It must be live. What do I mean by that? Your product must actually be happening and growing. You don't want a product that is dying or dead. Retailers are not a way of dumping failed products. They are tougher. it must be strong. Put your best contenders out there. And you must have a 3PL. It can't arrive with an Amazon box. They will stop using you immediately. Going back to the very beginning, when I talked about that case pack, use a 3PL, and it'll actually cost you less than you are for sending individual units out to customers, because you're sending stuff out by case packs. They understand that. And again, it's really simple. They slap a label, FedEx label, and it sends out. The retailers pay for that up front. Some will even give you their FedEx account number or the UPS account number, and it goes right out. But you do need a 3PL. Or, gosh, when I started out, my ex-wife and I sat down and we did everything in our living room. So have a very understanding spouse or a 3PL. How do you find retailers? This is a big question I see online all the time. Actually, it's not as crazy as you think. First of all, Google them. If you're in the US, or actually if you're anywhere in the world, you can purchase the salesman's guide or the chain store guide. But if you're in the US, you can go into most libraries in most major cities and find it there for free. LinkedIn, sales reps. I mentioned that this package here got me into an agency that got me into Bed Bath and Beyond and Belk's and a few others. There are two major complexes here in the US, one in Las Vegas, one in Atlanta. They are filled with showrooms just selling retail products. And those showrooms are filled with sales reps that, other than the twice-a-year shows, go out to their regions. And they drive around their region, they're going into store after store after store saying, hey, I've got a product. Let's see if I've got I don't have one of my catalogs. Here we go. I've got a product. Here's a catalog. What do you want to order? They're doing the selling for you. They don't get paid until they make a sale. Then you give them a commission. Sales reps. By the way, this is people don't even see this side of retail, agencies and marts and so on. It is such an important part and has been such an important part of retail. I mentioned Atlanta and Las Vegas. They're the big ones. The third one down is in Dallas. November 22nd, 1963. Those of us who are old in the U.S. know that date very well. That's the day that JFK was assassinated. You've all seen the films, the grassy knoll, the open car and stuff like that. And he gets brought to the hospital and he passed away. Not a lot of people know where he was going. He was actually on his way to the retail mart in Dallas. That's how important it is for the retail industry in the U.S., these marts and the sales reps and so on. Retail consultants. A lot of people know that I've got a close relationship with Tim Bush, one of the best retail consultants out there. There are brokers, trade shows. I just mentioned the permanent retail marts. There's online sites. Fair, Juniper just launched. Range Me is a very good one. And you notice there are, say, big box store websites crossed out. They suck. If you put your information into that little spot, do you have a product for us? Fill out this form. It's like the contact us form. You'll never hear from them. If you do, maybe it'll be 6-8 months later. But walk into a Target or a Walmart or a Home Depot and say, Home Depot plant department, I've got this wonderful new unique planter no one else has, that has two instead of one. What's the name of the buyer? How can I contact them and show it to them? Just ask. And that's so simple and so powerful that you get to have the name of the retailer. So to wrap up, you should be thinking in-store retailers for 2022. If you can do it on Amazon, you can do it in retailers. And are in-store retailers strong? It's obvious. Amazon is investing in in-store retail. And if they're doing it, you should too. It's a straightforward power play. Put it into your strategy for next year and see where you are this time, 12 months from now. and you're going to have a brand new, a totally different fourth quarter than you've ever had before. So think about it. So with that, I want to thank Megla and everyone at Global Sources.